Hi, my name is Ilan, and in this video I'm going to present two new features. These features are described on the ZapTech book under ZapPipes debugging. In this diagram, you can see how the application fetches a route, and according to this route, the application is going to call the data source manager in order to fetch and populate the application with feed data. Currently, the data source manager, according to a route, is going to the Pi provider plugins to fetch the data. The Pi provider plugins is the mechanism to parse the data from the customer or either use the general provider from Applicaster in order to return a feed in this kind of format. Now, what happens when you want to make a fix in the data, but you still don't know if it's going to work for Android and iOS the same? What happens when you want to test a family style under all the possible scenarios like article, links, videos, and so on? So what we're going to do here is to hijack the data source once it is returned by the Pi provider plugin. We will copy it to a mirroring server in order to see what is the output. So let's do it. You go to your settings under any application and you just allow mirroring. It's going to point to an internal server. This server is described here in the documentation under ZapPipes. So start the server, it will listen on port 7000, and from there you have mock server. This server has mirroring and proxy, but first of all, let's start with mirroring. By using mirroring, if I start Charles proxy, I will start seeing what is the feed that the application is really consuming. And here you can see the feed of the VOD in a more understandable way, more like the protocol of Applicaster, this one. And this is actually very important because this is the data, this is the contract for all external developers to understand what we should feed the application with. So this is pretty cool because you can see the route here. If you do like this, we can see here the route reshape first, fetch data type home, right? You could just decode it. It's a URL encoded. So let's just decode it. This is the route. So for this route, this is the content. Yeah. And this is the page that you're going to see on the app. Now, that's really good because you get more transparency to understand and to debug issues. But we still haven't done any changes yet. Mirroring is just to view what the application is consuming right now, whereas proxying is exactly the opposite. So now, let's say we want to change this picture. This picture is the feed of the big promoted, this one. This is the feed. What I'm going to do now in order to override this is, first of all, go to proxy, enable it. Now, you don't have to enable mirroring too, but I want to see both in Charles. And this time we're going to route the big promoted to a new content. So let's, for example, write a rule. We are going to route this route, big promoted route, to a new file. So let's take it and copy inside of the route. Now the route file is a mapping for all providers. The Reshet first provider here is used because inside of the setting you have the following. If your setting is pointing here to Reshet first, then you are using this map, right? So for this route, I'm saying to the proxy, you're going to override the content. And instead of continuing here, instead of going to the pipes, you're going to return the content from the proxy, and directly it will go to the data source manager. So we are going to bypass the normal content for this specific route only. The rest of the routes are going to behave normally. So let's save it. And this is my main JSON. The only thing that changed, I took the same content and I changed the main image here. Let's see the result. Okay, now you can see that the image has changed, but more importantly, let's close the mirroring a second. See that inside of the proxy, all routes returned 404, except one, the route that we decided to override, the big promoted route. The rest of the routes are saying, I don't know this route because it's not defined in the route JSON, right? Makes sense. But it means that inside of mirroring, I'm going to see all the routes with the content that return here 404, except the route that the proxy intercepted. So here you can see that big promoted is not here anymore after